Hello and welcome to Broads and Books. I'm Amy.
And I'm Erin, and this is episode number 92. Don't you forget about me.
And if you don't have the song in your head by now, just from those words, you are obviously not our age.
I guess.
But
even so.
Come on now.
That should just automatically start.
Yeah, this is obviously the song from Simple Minds from the mid-'80s. Don't You Forget About Me from the seminal classic, The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And we chose it this week just thinking about like people trying to make a mark, trying to be immortalized in some way, trying to be remembered, trying not to be forgotten. Don't forget about me.
I just need you to do one thing. Don't you forget.
Just don't do it.
About me.
Don't do it.
I like the placement of you.
Yeah.
Don't you forget about me.
Exactly.
Because it could be just don't forget about me. But
right. This is a very deliberate attack or a targeting of someone that is threatened to forget about them.
Yeah.
And this singer's like, listen, asshole.
Yeah. I'm not talking to society as a whole.
I'm talking about you.
You.
Who refuse to see me.
You.
Yeah.
Don't you forget about me.
Right. I didn't think about the very personalized aspect of this.
So this topic, like most of our topics, rich, wide open.
Rich.
But when you think about being immortalized or you think about heroes, sometimes that makes me think of statues.
Oh, yeah.
Monuments.
Yes, indeed.
If they were going to build a statue or a monument in your honor to immortalize you, what might you be doing in that statue/monument?
Well, see, I have two approaches here.
Oh, okay.
I have two pitches for the people who are going to make a statue for me.
All right.
Okay, so listen up
I will
here,
be the
developers.
committee. I'll be the steering committee.
You be the committee.
Okay.
Here's my first pitch, okay?
Pitch it to me.
It's me in a seat with some sweatpants.
Okay.
With my hand in a bag of Reese's Pieces.
Okay.
My other hand on a book. And then cats surrounding me.
Okay. Rejected. Second pitch. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love it. It's perfect.
Listen, it's about the real people.
It is.
It's about the
That's
real
perfect.
life.
Yes.
I don't have a superhero costume. This is me in my soft, loose sweatpants.
Yes.
Which allow me to do what I want, which is to sit.
And also, I imagine, should we ever get that hot Reese's Pieces sponsorship dollars, we're probably going to have to sign it into the next life.
Yes, in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, here's my second pitch.
Okay, all right.
This one is a moving statue, okay?
Oh.
Yeah, there's moving parts. Okay. So start also with me, okay? In loose clothing, okay? All right.
Understood. All right.
I am in a chair and I'm tippity-typing away in my laptop. So imagine like the arms are moving on this statue.
Oh, okay.
That's it. That's all I'm doing. Just tippity-typing.
All right. So the moving part is your arms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you imagine
it's like the little animal, the Muppet at a drum set. Like just real frantic.
So is the monument cement and then you have Muppet arms? Or are we figuring out how to...
I leave that up to you, the committee.
All right.
And whoever you choose to implement this vision of mine.
Is this kind of like a nod to the writing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Duh.
Well, I didn't know if we were immortalizing your work or your writing or just your need for Google.
Well, that's a good point. So that wasn't coming across clear.
Yeah.
So that may be something we have to work on with
like
the vision.
the things that you've published should be, we could carve that into that somehow.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, yeah. Because otherwise, you're right. It looks like I'm just flapping my arms.
Also, I feel like, if I may.
Yeah, please.
We want to add some hidden things into your statue or monument.
Okay.
Really diehard Amy fans are going to understand and see.
Such as?
Like the titles of your works or, things that only really diehard people know.
We gotta have like a David Bowie pin or something like that.
Yes. Or I think like a deer somewhere to symbolize like one of your first stories. They put some artwork with it. You wouldn't know that if you weren't a diehard fan.
But I also kind of like the idea of a deer just hanging out with me while I,
Yeah, it could be multiple things. You were one with nature. You cared a lot.
I look like a woodland nymph.
Yeah.
Just typing away.
Yes. This could get so confusing and be so rife for internet chat rooms.
But I mean, a lot of statues are confusing. Have you seen the one at the Des Moines Public Library?
Yeah.
Where it's just a rabbit crying.
Yeah, why is the rabbit crying? Can we talk about that for a minute?
Because the rabbit is crying against the commercialization of children's literature.
Okay. Okay.
Literally, that's what the artist said when it was unveiled.
It's just sad, though.
It's real sad. It's a real weird message to give.
Yeah.
Mine's going to be better.
I mean, I appreciate what they're saying. I do. That's depressing.
It really is depressing. People are going to have the opposite reaction when they see mine. They're going to be like, whoa, that is super weird, but I'm also sort of inspired.
Yes.
In a strange way.
Yes.
And not sure what I'm inspired to do.
I need to know more.
Yes.
I need to understand all these symbols, all these random things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, do her arms look like that in real life?
Yes. They move just like that.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So thinking about, heroes, idols, who was one of your strangest, oddest idols when you were younger?
Well, I had two, but one specifically, I was obsessed with Jane Pauley.
Okay. Yep. I mean, my first reaction was like, of course you were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just knowing you.
Right.
Yeah.
She was like at the height when I was growing up and knew her, like in starting out in investigative journalism. Like she was like the face of like the Dateline 48 Hours type of thing. And I was like, I am going to be Jane Pauley.
Yeah.
Like that is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But what's weird about it is now sometimes I see her on the CBS Sunday morning show with that weird trumpet. And it's like if you
Okay,
if you
I don't
watch
know.
the CBS morning news,
okay,
there's a very strange trumpet beginning.
Okay,
and it looks like she's on a set from 1982.
Oh no.
And she's like, this Sunday we have, and then it's always like something with Mo Rocca and like a random dish at a restaurant, and it's never quite the same.
No.
And I'm like, what happened?
Things have changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you wanted a certain era of Jane Pauley.
To be clear.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to knock on Jane Pauley because I'm sure that's a great gig.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie that sometimes I get sucked in and watch some of the stories.
Sure.
But most of the time when I see that weird sun and I hear that weird trumpet, I think I'm out.
Yeah. Fair. Okay. Who was your other one?
Anderson Cooper.
So we got a theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it about Anderson that you particularly liked?
I think it was his style of delivering things, but
Yeah.
and I didn't really know him that well even as a newscaster, but like I read his book early on and I was just fascinated with how he grew up, but I also every time I saw him in interviews, I thought he struck such a balance of being very intelligent and knowing a lot and being a little bit like
there was a little edge.
Yeah, a little bit sarcastic and funny, which he still kind of has now. And I just really appreciated that.
I can definitely see that. I can see both of those.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, little Aaron.
Yeah.
Looking up to Jane Pauley, and later as you got older to Anderson Cooper.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
What can you do?
Yeah.
I guess. But so, I mean, I'm sure you have them. We've talked about some of your heroes too, but why do you think the concept of heroes or idols is so appealing?
I think because once we name them heroes or idols, they're not real anymore. Like you don't think of heroes peeing. You don't think of them.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think of them with upset tum-tums. You don't think about heroes with acne.
Oh, that's true.
Like we turn them sort of inhuman in that way. Like it's this impossible thing that we could never like become, but at the same time, it's like, oh, they're better than us because they're not human anymore.
Right.
They don't do all this stupid shit that we have to do. They don't eat food.
No.
Yeah.
Which is why those things are so appealing. Like in Us Weekly,
Yes.
they're just like us, and you
Yes.
see them like getting gas, and your mind is blown.
Right. It's like, oh my God, they are human?
Yeah.
What? So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what,
that's a good point.
And thinking of like when I was younger, I remember even from a young age telling myself in a way like there's no heroes because no one's real kind of thing. Like, or there's no heroes because they're always going to let you down. I was real dark even as a kid. I think I just always knew that like don't look up to people too much because they're going to disappoint you or you're going to find out something that's not
yeah.
So you can maybe admire somebody but don't like worship somebody.
And then you just fell deep into a rabbit hole with David Bowie.
I did.
Yeah.
But that was once I was an adult where I decided, you know what? I'm going to let that inner child that wasn't allowing myself to have any fun come out.
I'm glad. And I think you picked a perfect person.
I'm sure that David Bowie did in fact pee, and that he did maybe have acne at some point.
Not what I'm sure he did in fact pee.
I mean, I assume.
Yeah, oh yeah. We
you
we don't know, but we
don't
assume.
know.
Yeah.
And I imagine he had a stomach ache from time to time. But,
That's all right.
there's no facts that say yay or nay. What did you think I was going to say?
I'm sure he had his flaws or he wasn't perfect, but you went with, I'm sure that he peed. I think that has to be true.
I'm just taking what I know
Of the human body. And assuming.
And applying it, and assuming. But yeah, I know that assuming makes an ass out of you and me, but here, I'm going to go ahead and assume.
I think that you're
Yeah.
safe in this one.
Yeah.
I think you're safe. I think you are safe. I'm going to give that to you.
Oh, good. Thanks, Erin.
You're welcome.
Some heroes or idols, like the idea is that they're going to live forever, by just our esteem in them. But if you were going to actually live forever, and you could pick what age you would live forever as, what age would you pick?
Well, okay, I kept thinking about this, but I think I want to revise it just a touch and
Okay.
say that I want to live my life all the way, and then I just keep being reborn
Ooh,
at a certain age.
Okay.
So I want to
okay.
live all the way, and then I just want to be reborn in my 30s.
Okay.
Like just boom, because then I want to be able to have all that knowledge.
That's the thing.
yeah. I couldn't give it. I was like, I don't want to be here because then I wouldn't know this. And I don't want to say
Exactly.
now because I don't know what I'm going to learn.
That's a great way, because I was thinking about this too and thinking like, God, I guess I could say now, but maybe I'll get better.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's hope
Let's
that
hope.
I have more to learn.
let's hope.
Right?
And I didn't want to say my 20s because your 20s suck.
I know.
And your
I was tempted to
30s
say college because I was thinking,
Yes.
oh, that's a time in your life when you just get to learn everything,
just
and
get to
that's what your
learn.
life is about.
Yes.
But then I was like, I don't
But
want to live
also, like we were
that.
stressed the F out trying to make
Yes.
money and trying to have student
Yeah.
loans. And that was so, like, it wasn't that fun, that part.
Oh,
And your 20s, you don't know what the hell's going on. Your 30s are great,
yeah.
but there's still so much to learn.
Yes.
That's a wonderful way. You tripped up the system that we ourselves created.
Yes.
And you said, this is what we're going to do.
This is how we're going to do it.
Okay. Anywhere specific in your 30s?
Like mid, I think.
Good 35?
Yeah, I'm fine
right.
with that.
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really have that many qualms about aging, so it's not
Yeah.
really like an age. It's more a knowledge thing. Like I just don't
Exactly.
want to have to go backwards and learn certain lessons over. So,
I like around 35 because that's before my body started breaking down.
yeah.
And, I would like to have some physical health as
That's a
well
good
as
point.
all the knowledge.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Because now, like, I run the mower yesterday and my wrists have been hurting ever since.
Oh, well, you have rough terrain. I mean,
That's also because I'm 43.
well, okay.
So there's that.
But also, I mean,
I do have.
your yard isn't perfectly smooth,
It's
so
not.
your wrists are going to absorb all that shock.
Thank you, Erin. You're
You're
making me
welcome.
feel better about this.
Yeah,
about
that's-
my,
If I were an orthopedic doctor, I
Oh.
would say we need to be careful how much we mow the lawn.
Okay.
So.
Well, there is a factor of the neighbors looking askance if the grass, but that is a pressure I'm putting upon myself.
Well,
you're right.
If you
You're
want,
right.
as an orthopedic doctor,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I will
yeah.
prescribe you a
Okay.
wrist.
Oh, actually, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to keep it in place. And then
Uh-huh,
when they
uh-huh.
look askance, you can hold it up and say, I have a condition. That's what I mean.
I think that's some great
Yeah.
medical advice. Thank
Brace.
you.
I couldn't think of the word. Brace.
I gotcha.
That's what I was looking
Yeah.
for. I was going to say
yeah,
cast.
you're right. There wasn't the visual that you were showing me
Yeah.
where you were
I was
twisting your
just
arm
like
around.
all the single ladies, but that was to mean brace. So it was the single ladies dance, but I meant it to mean brace. So, and
Yep,
once again,
okay.
you prove why you're my ride or die because you understood I wasn't not fact dancing.
Yeah, no, I got it.
But I was trying to communicate brace.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. This is very helpful. Thank you. I'm glad we solved that. Yeah.
I do hope you know that if I'm ever in like a horrific accident and I
Uh-huh.
can't communicate,
Yeah.
that it's clearly instructed to my family to bring you in because
We need a translator.
yeah, what does she mean?
What is this face saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can come in and be like, her tum hurts.
Yeah.
She needs to use the bathroom
Yep.
and she wants you all to leave.
Yeah. Because she's a real person and has to pee. And so she needs some privacy, damn it. Yeah.
Yeah. She needs you back off.
Whew. I like it.
Good.
Yeah. Well, for fiction picks.
Yes.
On the vein of don't you forget about
Don't
me.
you do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I have a novel that came out last year. It's called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab.
Yes.
So, did you read this one?
No, I saw it, and I have to admit there was multiple times that I thought this sounds like Amy would love this book.
Well done, Ride or Die. So Addie is a young woman in France in 1714, and she's about to be married off. And she doesn't like the person she's about to be married off to. She doesn't like the idea that she's just going to be married off.
Fair enough.
But she runs away. And just out in the woods at night, she's pleading with everyone who listens, help me, get me out of this situation. Mm-hmm. And a dark spirit says, sure, I'll help you.
Dark spirits, man.
Yeah. He's like, I'll save you. And here's the deal. You'll live how you want, and you can live forever if you want. But no one will remember you. No one but me. So for 300 years, she lives a life that, for all intents and purposes, looks great. She can go anywhere. She can do anything. She can steal stuff without people remembering who she is. Like, she can find her way to live.
Oh.
She can do what she wants. She can love who she wants. But with every single person that she meets, the minute she's out of their sight, they instantly forget her. They have no idea what was happening, where they are, who this person was, any of that. Meanwhile, along that time, the dark spirit keeps checking in. Like, how you doing? How you doing, Addie? Have you had enough? Because when you're done with this sort of torment that you've found here, where no one remembers you, your soul becomes mine. Whew. So that is the concept.
That's not a choice.
It's not a choice.
That's
no.
not a good choice.
But, she considers it again and again because it is a long, long life, which is what she wanted in some ways. But, no one is, it's extremely lonely.
Yeah.
But then in New York, one day in 2014, she goes to a bookstore and she meets Henry. And when she sees him for the second time, he remembers her. So they are drawn together to try and figure out, like, oh my gosh, why? How can you remember me? And how are they connected? And can they find in each other what they're needing?
Yeah.
So I chose it for this theme because Addie wanted a different life where she could live for herself, like any woman of that time, right? But in her rush, she gave away her right to be remembered. And so she may be immortal, but only in her body, not in her spirit. One thing cool, though, and we see like little bits of her past, she does persist within those sort of parameters that the dark spirit has given her. Because one way she figures out how to make a mark is sort of being a muse by planting ideas, giving musicians and artists and writers the ideas that are going to make their career. And they may not remember how they got those ideas, but those ideas will become huge one day.
Oh.
This is one of those big, rich, epic books that you just sink into, and when you put it down, you can't wait to pick it up again. And add to that this idea of leaving a mark, and it's terrific. It's a great read, and you got to get into it.
Sounds great.
Yes. I love that, Dark Spirit is snarky.
Yeah.
And he's just, trying to mess with her.
I love the idea, too, that in this very difficult position that you're in, this very difficult choice, that you still found ways to leave a mark. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It kind of speaks to the human experience too, right? That we're all afraid a little bit. Like, what does this life mean? Like, what are we leaving behind?
Yep.
What is anyone going to remember me for?
Yeah.
Or why am I doing all of this? Like, what matters?
Yeah. And she sort of then puts all of her need for love and connection into that act, into that, like, if you're not going to remember me, at least I can somehow, have this connection be made apparent to the world.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Mm. Interesting. I am fascinated by authors that come up with these amazing premises. Like, my mind just does not work that way to come up, I'm in this world, there's a dark spirit, he's going to offer this. Like, I love stories like that, and that's just not how my brain works.
Well, and I love this kind of stuff too, where you kind of drop into history and you see people that you'll recognize, and you hear stories that you'll recognize, and some that are purely fictional. But it's kind of a cool look at history too. Yeah,
very good. Mm-hmm. Perfect for this theme.
Yes.
Well, oddly enough, the book that I picked this week also has a little bit of the spirit world.
What?
It's called You Up by Katie DeSabato. And
Sarah Weinman was just mentioning this.
Yes. In fact, I think she said we were vibing when I said I just started
she did,
this
in
book.
fact, and that was one of the moments where I was watching you very carefully to see if your head did explode.
Yeah.
It did not.
It did not. I kept it intact, but it
intact.
almost did.
Yeah.
When we got off, it exploded a little bit.
Okay.
I spent the rest of the day piecing it back together. It's healing. We're okay. But I really had just started this book when we had spoken to her, and she said that it was one of the books that had surprised her this year.
Yeah.
And I have to wholeheartedly say the exact same thing, is that it's very surprising. It's very different than I thought that it was going to be, and it was great. It was just published in February 2021. So there's this group of 4 friends, and Eve is kind of the center. She's very unique and kind of beats to her own drum, but she's very close to these other people. She's got Ezra, who's like probably her other best friend in the group. He happens to be dating one of their other friends, Naz. And then they have a friend, Miggy or Miguel. And when the book opens, we're opening on a very, very sad time for them, as this is the 1-year anniversary of when Miggy committed suicide the year before. So they're all like really trying to get through this together. So we're learning a lot about Eve right out of the gate. We learn that she is very intelligent. She has a really strong personality, but she very carefully cultivates her online presence. So she's very concerned about seeming very attractive and cool to other people. The whole way that she takes pictures, what she says, the captions, when she's scrolling through, what grabs her attention on other people's feeds. Mm-hmm. We also learn right away that she can communicate with ghosts. And she's known this for a long time. And she has gone to various teachers to hone that skill. And it's just part of her life. And the other friend in the group, Naz, can also do that.
Oh my gosh.
And Ezra cannot. He doesn't. So
does Ezra know that those two can do this?
On a level, but not. I don't think he entirely understands.
Okay.
So we learn pretty quickly that Eve can actually communicate with Miggy via text because he's a ghost.
Oh my God.
And because he can communicate with her that way.
So ghosts have cell phones?
That's what he says. He found it and he was shocked. And so he tried texting her, and that's how it started.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it's such an interesting premise. So Ezra's going through this. He's trying to deal with this friend. She's dealing with it in a different way because she can still communicate with him. And in the middle of this, Ezra and Naz break up. And Ezra disappears. And so Eve is beside herself because this feels all too real again, that she's losing a friend. And so she's doing all this backward investigating to see what's going on, and she's not listening to anyone. She won't listen to Naz. She won't listen to Miggy. She's just sort of kind of on this destructive path of like, I have to find where he is. Why would he do this to me? And that is like one storyline. The friend's another storyline, and there's so many others going on. It's just so different than what I expected it to be, and it had so much more to say than just a really interesting kind of premise and story. It had this whole underlying thing about social media and its ability to sort of allow us to, first of all, put a certain image forward, but also allow us to pretend we don't have flaws. Mm-hmm. So much so that sometimes we start to believe we don't, or kind of take the onus out of having to do anything about those flaws. And that's kind of what Eve is faced with, that maybe because she can communicate with ghosts, and maybe because she has been dealing with this loss, she hasn't been maybe as good of a friend as she could have been, or maybe she's not admitting feelings that she actually has because it's easier just to pretend they don't exist, or it's easier to do something flippant or hurtful so that she doesn't have to deal with whatever's in front of her. So it's like, and it reads so quickly because you're reading a lot of text message conversations, but there's also a storyline going on. I loved it. I thought that it was unique and different and such an interesting way to think about the spiritual world.
Yeah.
With this communication, she sees other ghosts all along the way, which makes it can be funny and interesting as well. When she's walking into rooms, and I really enjoyed it.
That's wonderful. Yeah. 2 things. I think it's interesting that there's the social media angle. Mm-hmm. I feel like with social media, we can almost try and present ourselves as idols or as heroes in our own story, in the way that we always present positive things to the public versus, everything else. So that's an interesting thing.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
She also is very interesting how she when Ezra disappears, most of her clues come from the fact, well, he hasn't posted on social media and he hasn't responded to this and he hasn't done that. It's like we allow that to take the place of the actual person. Like she's not listening to what he's trying to communicate by stepping back and taking a break. She's sure something's wrong, because why wouldn't you put your whole life out there? Why wouldn't it be on Instagram?
Yeah.
So, and she, you know, at one point she's offended because she notices that he comments on somebody else's something, but he hasn't responded to her.
So there's such a modern thing.
Yes. Yeah. But in that context, interesting, because that's true. Like people have started to judge other people's behavior by what they can figure out online, as opposed to a conversation or what actually takes place.
Yeah. It reminds me of a conversation I had after going on a trip a couple years ago. And it was to a writing conference, and I really didn't enjoy it. But I was posting some pictures while I was there. And when I came home, another friend asked how it was, and I was like, "Oh God, it sucked." And he's like, "Well, your social media looked beautiful." I'm like, "Come on now, we know how this works."
Yeah.
I was posting the good stuff. I wasn't posting how I was super overwhelmed by this schedule, and I hated every second of it.
Yes.
I was posting the pretty thing I saw from my Airbnb.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your social media look great. Well, good. So glad.
Cool, but that's not the truth. Come on now. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is I love the idea of the dead having cell phones.
So much.
That's so great.
So much.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting concept in this book in particular, because she's really working through something, able to ask him questions about why did you commit suicide? Why weren't we enough? I mean, there's some very difficult conversations that you wouldn't normally get to have that she sort of gets to have. Yeah. So yeah, it's very fascinating. Goes a lot of different directions, and I loved it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you and Sarah Wyman were vibing.
We were vibing about this book.
Well, I think that opens the door for you to, check in now that you've finished the book. Yes. You're like, Sarah.
It was so, you're right.
It was so good.
So surprising.
Can we talk about this?
Yes. Over coffee. I will be there in a couple days. I have to get a flight.
We will make this happen.
Yeah. It's not creepy at all.
Not at all. Perfect. Well, for other genre pick, I chose a sort of memoir, sort of essays. It's called I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. And this came out in 2018, but with the events of last summer, it experienced a major resurgence, and it was getting a ton of new press as of last year. And I think that even Reese Witherspoon chose it for her book club last summer. So getting a bunch of play, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So here's a story we learn early on to sort of encapsulate what you're going to read. At age 7, the author discovers that her parents named her Austin so that future employers thinks that she was a white man. Brilliant. Also, that's a lot for a kid to take on.
Wow.
It's like everything you need to know about our society and racism right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this book then is stories of Austin trying to reconcile what it means to be black in a world that definitely favors white. And not only that, to appreciate, to even love her blackness, even though it makes her sort of less than in America. So she describes growing up in Toledo in a pretty white area. And then after her parents' divorce, she moves to a mostly black area in Cleveland. So it's a bit of a culture shock in a way, and a time where she's learning about black history and worshiping in a black church. She describes beginning to sort of grapple with and understand the violence of American history and how that violence has been focused on bodies like hers, black bodies. And she also describes becoming an activist and a trainer, even though it's exhausting. So after presenting on racism to groups like corporate groups, many will come up to her and confess their own racist ideas and actions.
Oh my gosh.
One, it's not a freaking priest. It's not confession time. And two, do you think she's not hurt by that? Like, it's one of those situations where, again, it's just like, what is wrong with people? Come on now.
What would inspire you to do that?
Like, you're going to go up to them and say the many times that you said the N-word? Like, what is this about?
Yes.
Yeah. So another interesting thing, though, she also dissects religion today and how Christianity is very important to her, and it's been something that she grew up with and still believes in. But today's religion, practiced by white evangelicals, is based around pushing her out. And it accepts and encourages racism. And she has to really grapple with that and try and figure out, like, what can we still believe in without all these extra political and racist trappings? And does that still allow for worship? Does that still, allow for people who are not white to come in? So I chose it for this theme because I think it's all about being individual, about being remembered, and to have dignity. And I think that that's an important way of not being forgotten as well, especially in a world that wants to forget you, that doesn't want to allow you to have dignity. And more than that, an entire people being systematically erased. There's a great quote here. It's a little bit long, but I think this kind of encapsulates what you're going to find. White people are exhausting. It's work to be the only person of color in an organization, bearing the weight of all your white coworkers' questions about blackness. It's work to always be hyper-visible because of your skin, easily identified as being present or absent, but for your needs to be completely invisible to those around you. The danger of letting whiteness walk off with our joy, our peace, our sense of dignity, and self-love is ever present. So that's kind of stuff that she's writing about, that she's grappling with, and it's really powerful and especially relevant to this theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I might need to pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny that you said that about the name, too, because when you said it, I was like, it took me a minute. I thought, did I hear her wrong? Yeah.
Yeah.
But.
Which then, demonstrates everything that she says about our assumptions, about the way that society is set up, everything.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, wow. Well, for my other genre this week, I picked a book called Barbara the Slut by Lauren Holmes.
That was the sound of my head hitting the microphone because I had a good guffaw at that one.
You did, as you should.
Barbara is a Slut.
Barbara the Slut by Lauren Holmes. Published in 2015. This is a collection of short stories. And I specifically picked it this week because all of the characters in each of the stories are kind of iconic for different reasons. They're kind of like this immortal kind of don't you forget about me ideal. In particular, one, I'll just right off the bat, the title story, Barbara the Slut, is the reason I picked it for this topic, this story. So she's this incredibly smart, got it all together high schooler who got into Princeton, but also has to take care of her brother who has a disability. But she's known for something else entirely at school. And that's the fact because she likes sex and she gets around. She doesn't care. And I love this because it forces the idea that multiple things can be true. And I think especially when someone's idolized or immortalized, we tend to make them one-dimensional. We diminish the other parts of them. Yeah. And especially the parts that maybe don't stand out as much. And this story of Barbara the Slut is like the perfect example of that. She's known for one thing without realizing she's probably the smartest person in their class. She's probably going to go the farthest. She's probably going to have the best career. All of those things. She's a great person. She's a good friend. None of that matters because of this other thing became what she's known for. There's so much humor in these stories, but there's also this feeling of being seen because we relate. I related to the characters because what they want changes a lot in each of the stories as they get information or their circumstances change. And that felt very real life to me. We start out thinking, this is what I want. This is what I want. And then you learn other things or you encounter other people or your ideas are challenged and you think, yeah, you know what? I don't want that. I want this. Or you finally maybe get comfortable enough with yourself to say, yeah, I don't want what everybody else wants. I want something entirely different.
Yeah.
So another one of my favorite stories is called Desert Hearts. And in this one, a woman takes a job selling sex toys because she doesn't really have any desire to get a job. She has a law degree, but she mainly did that because her dad made her and she doesn't really want to do it. So she decides to sell sex toys instead.
I think that's a delight. Logical, especially after going to law school. That'd be fun.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a perfect connector. There's another one called Pearl and the Swiss Guy Fall in Love. And this one I could relate to so much because it's a woman who invites a man back to her apartment. She assumes it's going to be a one-night stand because he has to leave the next day. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
There's no attachment. There's no, we have to discuss this. And then for some reason he delays his flight, and then he does it another
no.
day. And then pretty soon she just has to say, "Get out of my apartment." And that
is like a nightmare.
it is. But also the transition in the story is so brilliant of her starting like, "Oh, this guy's attractive. Like, this is going to be fun. Like, this is great." Oh, and like the things that she finds quirky and funny on the first night. And then day 2, you're like, I'm over it. You need to leave.
That's wonderful.
It's terrific. And all of the stories to me are a good example of this theme this week of, we want to not be forgotten, but exactly for what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point too. About like if we get to control how we're remembered and not forgotten, or if we're, given a title like slut and then that,
famous or infamous, the kind of two ways of that.
That sounds wonderful. It's a fantastic title.
How could you not read it?
Yeah.
It's terrific. Yeah.
Pop culture wise.
Yes.
I've got a movie film.
Okay. A cinematic feature, as we like to say now.
That appears on the Netflix.
Okay.
It actually came out in 2017, but it came to Netflix early this year because it was snapped up by Ava DuVernay's company, Array, and it's called Alaska is a Drag.
Oh.
So Leo is a young black gay man working in a fish cannery in Alaska. And if that sounds disgusting, imagine being a vegan and watching that shit, because it's nasty.
I can't. I'm surprised you finished.
Well, because that's not the primary focus.
Good.
So he's working at this fish cannery, and all day long, though, he's dreaming of glamour and stardom. He and his twin sister, Tristan, they have plans. They are going to save up. They're going to leave this small town in Alaska, and he is going to find stardom as a drag superstar. Yes. So they spend a lot of time at the one gay bar for like 100 miles, and the owner is Margaret Cho.
Of course.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, though, at the fish cannery and just basically in his small town, he's getting in a lot of fights because many locals don't like him and what he represents. They don't like the fact that he is very secure in what he wants and very secure in who he is. But the good news there is because he's become practiced at fights, Leo starts training as a boxer with his boss. And at the same time, he meets a new guy in town, Declan, who likes to hang around the twins. So Leo enters a boxing competition.
Oh, boy.
But his sister also enters him in a drag competition on the same day. And this is his first drag competition. And this is his major, his break. He wants to become a drag superstar. So that sets up, where things go from there. This is fun. This is beautiful. It's entertaining. It's a very sweet story about trying to stand out in maybe a very unlikely way in the most unlikely of places.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose it for this theme, because I think Leo could just work and live like everyone around him, but he knows that he's meant for more. And he's different, and that has been a bad thing to some people, but he thinks it's a good thing. He wants to make it a good thing, and he wants to show everyone that he thinks it's a good thing. I love all the actors. I love the director. I love that Ava DuVernay is bringing stuff like this to greater attention.
Yeah.
It's just a win. Alaska is a Drag.
That's a great title.
Yes.
Go with that whole premise.
Yes. There are multiple scenes where Leo and his sister Tristan are walking home from the cannery, and they're walking down like a sort of wooded path, and they're walking, and then stop, and then they strut, and they're posing. It's fantastic.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea just to do that.
That's great.
I feel like we could do that.
I feel like we could definitely do that. So I want you to watch this movie.
Okay.
Take notes on how they do this.
Okay.
And then from now on, when we walk into the library, this is what we're going to do.
Boom.
Yeah. And when we walk into a local bookstore, this is what we're going to do. When
yes.
we walk into Big Acai, this is
what
definitely what we're going to do.
We're going to do that for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, good. Good. I like this plan.
Generally, it should be done when we're together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend that we
No.
do it on our own.
I think, there's strength in numbers
Definitely.
in this case.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Well, I also picked a movie from Netflix.
A movie
and
film.
A movie film, a cinematic feature that you
Yes.
have seen as well.
Oh.
Yes. It's called I Care a Lot.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
It's so stars Rosamund Pike, who, I mean,
Has the sharpest haircut known to man.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just very severe.
that's the right
It is
word for it.
slick.
Sharpest.
Yes.
Yeah. How?
Could cut.
I feel like you had
glass.
to trim that every day.
Yes.
Because if one piece got out of place, if one piece
done.
was slightly longer, that is
Yeah.
the whole thing's ruined.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're
that
right.
haircut makes her in this.
It
movie.
does. It does. So she's stars a lady who's made a practice and a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. By draining elderly patients that she puts into her care. So she basically tricks the courts into thinking they can't care for themselves. She signs over all their assets to supposedly pay for their care. And then she puts them in facilities that are also in on the scam. And she fleeces them. And then
Horrifying idea. Also brilliant.
yeah, brilliant and horrifying. And then she makes the mistake of picking the exact wrong patient
Yes, she
to do
does.
this to. And it is an adventure from there that you can't possibly see coming. I will tell you that Chris Messina's character in it is a delight.
Oh, boy. I feel things when I saw him in his very sharp suit. He was a sharp-dressed man in that
just
movie.
his whole demeanor, it was great. So I don't want to say too much more because I feel like you
Can we
almost
say that Peter Dinklage is in it
yes,
as well?
Peter Dinklage is in it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was almost hesitant just because
I
there's so
know.
many surprises
Yes.
that come about. But needless to say, she goes on a ride. And there are times that you dislike her quite a bit and
Yes.
times that you are like, oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Yes. Which was really, how about for you? Like, it felt like I was on a roller coaster where I was like, oh, this is awesome. She's going to get out of this. I'm like, oh, shit. Do I want her to get out of this?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want her to get out of this.
I know.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I had the exact same feeling where you're like, oh, well, okay. So she's, spectacular ending. The whole thing is just has a lot to say about heroes and what kind of
Being remembered.
image we put out there, how we're
Indeed.
remembered. Yes.
Yes.
Also, I read about, I did not see this, but in an interview, Rosamund Pike, who has gotten a lot of award buzz about this
Yeah.
and has won other awards, she mentioned that she buries her awards in her garden so that only little pieces of it stick up. Yeah. Because she thinks that it's weird to have them in her house and have people come through and be like, oh, here's my awards. So instead.
So it's not weird
Right.
to bury them in your yard.
Right.
And
with
have
little
bits.
tiny pieces of it showing, which actually I feel like might be like, I think what she's trying to say is when it's in her house, it's a weird conversation piece, but it almost makes it more of a conversation
so much weird
piece.
because if you're out in the lawn and let's say you're a person that does not live at that house and let's say God forbid you've taken your shoe off and you step on one of those awards.
Yeah. She also made the point that I don't think she intends to dig them up if she moves, because she said, yeah, someday I like to think about the fact that like somebody's going to find them in the yard and be like, what are these?
What?
So she's either the most brilliant at giving a big FU to the whole machine that is Hollywood, or she's a weirdo. And either way, I like it.
I appreciate it either way. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I will say that that'd be a mowing nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
coming
don't know
back
if
to
it's
mowing.
specific in her garden, like, so you probably wouldn't mow over that part. But...
Oh, yeah. I was picturing just in the yard.
So she's probably got a yard person, don't you think?
Well, that's true. And I wonder if that poor yard person is like, why? Why did you have to do this?
Another one. She won another one. Oh, my God. Okay. Thought that was a gnome.
We broke
It's
another
a golden
mower.
globe. Like, what?
We broke another trimmer.
And also, the only other thing it made me think was, if I was one of the other actresses in the category that she beat me out and she buried her golden globe in the garden, I'd be like,
seriously?
What?
Yeah. Also, what do you think about that? Because I feel like, okay, yes, it is a messed up system. It's probably very strange to feel like you're judging one actor over another, but yet you won an award. You put a lot of work into that role. And I feel like I'd be okay with putting an award out.
Yeah.
And
she
displaying
says,
it.
she goes, it's probably some very deep rooted imposter syndrome I haven't dealt with.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I agree. I think that that's a there's a level where putting out an award would be weird. And that's like your bowling trophy. Or like if someone still has their high school awards out. That's a weird behavior. That's like you're trying to get attention. But if you win like a prestige, you win a Golden Globe, you win a Nobel Prize, you win some, Faulkner Writing Award, whatever. You deserve to have that front and center.
Yes.
You did the work.
Now, that said, I would not create like an award shrine and then make all of my visitors to the house like walk past it and then explain it all. I mean, that might be crossing a line. However,
I'm going to reserve that right because I've never won an award that big. So if
that's true. That's true.
I don't want to promise I wouldn't make people walk by it.
That's a good point.
I don't know that I wouldn't be tempted to put in one of those things where you push a button and it explains it, like in a museum.
That's actually better because then it's like, oh, you found it on your own.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to slip away to the bathroom.
I'm just going to go over here. Feel free to walk
around. That looks very
Look at that
pushable
over there. Yeah.
It's my voice, by the way.
I really like that idea.
I did it in one take.
Won an award for that too.
Yep. Won an award for explaining my award.
Yeah, so we'd be real chill if we had awards.
Yeah, totally chill, yeah.
Totally
people would
chill.
want to come back. They'd visit once. They'd be like, you know where I want to go back to? Aaron's Award Corner.
And then you could like re-record the explanation like every few weeks or months or something. Be like, better go check it out. It's new.
It's new.
Yeah.
I did it with an accent. Yeah. So, I mean, good for her for doing it her own way.
Yeah.
But,
I love that tidbit. That's some great information to have.
Yeah. And that's, I just thought you should know that going in. She's, there was some buzz about her winning awards for this movie, but just saying.
I mean, if there are haircut awards, that hairstylist needs to win
Sharpest
them.
Haircut.
Sharpest haircut.
2020. Really, though, it's got to be like, the guys that are bald that, you have to keep that up. Like, a little bit of stubble. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every day, I bet there was some sort of ruler contraption or something and just making sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there had to be.
Listen, I don't know how to cut hair, so I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know how that works.
I don't either, but I think that you're right.
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah, I don't think you're doing that with a Flowbee. I think you got some sharp scissors out.
So you're not doing it like I've been doing it the last few months where I'm just sort of putting it up in a big ponytail and then eyeing it. Like, that's fine.
Wait a minute. You're putting it in a ponytail first?
Yeah. So I'm pulling my hair up into a ponytail at the top of the head.
Okay.
And then pulling the hair straight, trimming it like across. Now, granted, my hands are sort of shaking, so I'm sure it's not straight. Then I put it down, part it, bring it around, make another ponytail in the front, trim off any loose stuff.
Huh.
I'm sure from the back it's a horror show, but I don't really care at this point. It just gets too long and I'm like, fuck it, I gotta cut it. It's so bad.
I want to know.
I will also admit to after the breakup, I was like, I'm gonna cut my hair. I'm gonna be a cliche. And I'm gonna own this cliche. I'm gonna cut a couple inches off, and I did.
You did. See, I didn't notice. So you must have done it well enough that it wasn't a horror show.
Either that, or I've been in ponytails since that happened. Oh, yeah.
Okay. That could be.
Doesn't matter.
I would like to know how you arrived at the idea that putting it at the top in a ponytail to cut it first was the idea.
I will tell you, I watched a YouTube video.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I watched a few YouTube videos.
Okay.
This was the one where she seemed like she knew what she was doing.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. Now, granted, she had very long hair, very straight hair. So it was probably easier. I got a whole wavy situation
here.
you
do, yeah.
So I had to wait until it was like 3 days after a shampoo where it was pretty limp.
Weighed down. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the good thing about that is that it's more forgiving. If you had Rosamund Pike hair, you can't be willy-nilly trimming something.
That's a good point. The wave just sort of, it's like,
absorbs
who
it.
knows what's happening?
Yeah.
It's all willy-nilly.
Well,
yeah.
I say kudos.
Thank you.
I think you should add that to your awards corner. Like, I can cut my own hair. Did you know that? That could be just a postscript of the rest of it.
Yep. Like that.
I cut my own hair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to hear more hot tips like this every week, you can catch us in our next episode.
Every Wednesday, we'll be back.
Yeah. And until then,
happy reading.